What happens when curiosity crosses a line? When science stops asking, can we, and forgets to ask, should we? In the early 1970s, a quiet university basement in California became the stage for a question that still disturbs us today. How easily can ordinary people become cruel? The answer would come at a cost. Part 1. The beginning. In 1971, at Stanford University, a young psychology professor named Philip Zimbardo wanted to understand the nature of power. The world outside was tense. The Vietnam War was raging. Images of violence filled television screens. Questions about authority, obedience, and human behavior were everywhere. Zimbardo believed that evil was not just about personality. He thought it could be shaped by situations, by roles, by environment. To test this idea, he designed an experiment that sounded simple. He would create a mock prison. Volunteers were recruited through a newspaper ad. They were ordinary college students, healthy, intelligent, with no criminal record. They were randomly divided into two groups, guards and prisoners. The guards would wear uniforms and sunglasses. They would carry batons. The prisoners would wear loose smocks and be identified by numbers instead of names. It was meant to last 2 weeks. Everything was carefully planned. The basement of the psychology building was transformed into cells. Doors were reinforced. Windows were covered. The air felt heavy. But what no one truly planned for was how quickly the line between experiment and reality would disappear. And once it did, there was no easy way back. Part 2. Inside the experiment. On the first day, the prisoners were arrested at their homes by real police officers. It was staged, but it felt real. Neighbors watched. Handcuffs clicked shut. Sirens echoed through quiet streets. They were taken to the basement prison, stripped, searched, and given numbers. Names were no longer used. The guards were given simple instructions. Maintain order. Do not use physical violence. At first, the atmosphere felt almost playful. Awkward smiles, nervous laughter. But by the second day, something shifted. The guards began to assert control. They woke prisoners in the middle of the night for counts. They forced them to do push-ups. They gave small punishments for minor rule breaks. It escalated quickly. Some guards became creative in their humiliation. They removed mattresses. They denied bathroom access. They forced prisoners to clean toilets with their bare hands. The sunglasses hid their eyes. The uniforms gave them distance. Power felt real. The prisoners at first resisted. They laughed. They questioned the rules. Then came a rebellion. Prisoners blocked their cell doors with beds. They shouted. They refused to follow orders. The guards responded with force. Fire extinguishers were sprayed into cells. Leaders of the rebellion were isolated. Others were turned against each other. Within days, the mood darkened. Some prisoners broke down emotionally. One suffered severe anxiety and had to be released early. Another developed a stress rash across his body. And still, the experiment continued. Zimbardo himself had taken on the role of prison superintendent. He was no longer just observing. He was inside the system he created. He saw the distress. He heard the screams. Yet he did not stop it. Not yet. The most chilling part was this. No one forced the guards to act cruelly. They chose to. By the 5th day, the situation had grown unstable. Prisoners spoke in flat voices. Some asked for parole, as if they were truly serving sentences. They forgot it was an experiment. Reality had shifted. Then, on the 6th day, an outside observer visited the basement. She saw what others had stopped seeing. And she asked a simple question. What are you doing to these boys? That question changed everything. Part 3. Collapse. The visitor was a graduate student named Christina Maslach. She was shocked by the atmosphere, the humiliation, the emotional pain. She confronted Zimbardo directly. For the first time, he saw the prison through her eyes. The experiment, planned for 2 weeks, was stopped after just 6 days. When the prisoners were released, some cried. Others remained silent. The guards removed their uniforms and returned to being students. But something had been exposed. The study quickly became famous. It was discussed in classrooms and news reports. It was later portrayed in books and films. It seemed to prove that ordinary people could commit cruel acts when given power and authority. Yet over the years, criticism grew. Some researchers argued that the guards were influenced by hints from the research team. Others questioned the methods and ethics. Could such emotional harm ever be justified? The experiment raised serious concerns about how psychological research should be conducted. New ethical standards were introduced. Informed consent became stronger. Oversight committees became more powerful. The basement prison at Stanford became a warning. Zimbardo later reflected on his role. He admitted that he had become too involved, too immersed. The situation had changed him as well. The experiment had shown something uncomfortable. Not that humans are naturally evil, but that under certain conditions, good people can lose themselves, and that systems can shape behavior in ways we do not expect. Part 4. What it revealed. Today, the story of the Stanford Prison Experiment still echoes. It reminds us that power is not neutral. Roles are not harmless. Environments matter. We like to believe that we would act differently, that we would be the exception. But history suggests otherwise. The experiment went too far because no one stepped back soon enough. And perhaps that is the real lesson. Not about prisons, not about psychology, but about us. When systems reward control and silence empathy, cruelty can grow quietly. And sometimes all it takes to stop it is one person asking the right question.